that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio station.
This is Express Yourself with
The Professor.
Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself live on Global Radio 99.5 FM.
Good afternoon, Commonwealth of the Bahamas. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And Bahamians, some exciting things are beginning to happen. And as a talk show host, you got to be prepared for anything. Of course, something else was supposed to be on today, but circumstances have changed that. And one must always be ready and prepared at the last minute to make a sudden turn, a sudden twist. And if you're not ready, you can get left behind. It's just as simple as that. But Bahamians, some exciting things have been happening. We have Iram White and Shelley Lewis here in the studio. I'm going to introduce them very shortly. But the point is, Bahamians, we have to listen to what is going on. We must watch what our leaders are doing. And of course, you know, this is the political season and some things are heating up. And people are going to be asking a whole lot of questions. And I don't blame them to ask questions. But we have to find correct answers to those questions. I want to introduce Iram White. Let me make sure I get it right now. And Shelley Lewis.
Shelley Lewis.
I apologize. Good afternoon and welcome to Express Yourself on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We're going to have the discussion on some important events that occurred today in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Let's start with Iram Lewis.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me on the show today here, Professor. It's good to be with you.
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, Professor. It's certainly good to be back. And, you know, we're talking, like you mentioned, some very interesting things happening here in the country today. And I'm sure you're going to introduce that before we can get into that discussion, because we're looking, Ilan and I are observing social media, and there are lots of questions being filtered through and asking, you know, what people want to know what's going on.
Yes.
And what impact this will have on the official opposition and the elections. You know, this is what they call the crazy season.
The crazy season,
and
yes.
we can expect anything to happen, but what happened today has a lot of buzz going on and people asking some very serious and pertinent questions.
Well, I don't blame them to ask the questions, but I hope that people will learn to understand that in our system, a whole lot of things are happening. Political parties make decisions, and of course, you have people ask about the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas. And unfortunately, in our country, as I've been trying to get people to understand, it is important that you know what your Constitution says when it comes to the governance of the country.
Very important.
Because there's a difference between a political party and the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And unfortunately, in the shows that I've been doing on this show and other radio stations, the point is that people do not seem to understand that there's a vast difference between how a political party operates and how the government of the Bahamas ought to operate. Because even those who have been elected always talk about this particular government labeling it a party government, right? A PLP government, F&M government. You don't see that in the Constitution. Yeah. You have personalities who are in a political party that may have seats in the House of Assembly. And of course, the person who has the majority of seats, if it's the leader of the party, they form the government of the Bahamas. The point is that we need to understand what a parliamentarian is supposed to do. That's one. Because the Constitution says 38 or more seats.
Yes.
We have a constituency issue, 38 or more seats. And then, of course, the Constitution talks about a cabinet. It doesn't talk about city government, island government, none of that. That's not in the Constitution. You have constituencies and you elect a particular personality to represent you in that particular constituency. That is what you do when you go to the polls, to choose a parliamentary representative, not a party personality.
Professor, that raises a very pertinent issue with regards to what we happened. And I don't think you've mentioned exactly what really happened today while we are getting to this point.
Yes.
And if you would indulge us in terms of what we are really referring to in terms of what happened in the country today, we can move to that question in terms of representation when persons go to the polls to elect a representative of their constituency.
Yes. The point is, when you go to the polls, the particular personality who you elect to represent you represents not a particular party, but you, that is your parliamentary representative. Let's get that clear. Even though, like I always use the analogy with St. Barnabas Church and BDC, you're members in Barnabas Church, but you work the BDC. Mm-hmm. So it's one person having two positions. So when you go to BDC, the man don't ask you, well, you're St. Barnabas Church, I want you in here. Mm-hmm. Or you go to St. Barnabas Church, the people there from different jobs, right? They come to worship God. They hear what the minister has to say. They all on one accord. So when you go to BTC, even though you have other people in those different religions, different from St. Barnabas Church, they all work together to get the job of BTC done. Right. Now, in Parliament, it should be the same thing. So your representative is supposed to speak on issues that confront you in that particular constituency, bring it to Parliament, to bring to the government of the Bahamas, because all you got is the cabinet now. So once you put that before the House of Assembly, they discuss it, and then it goes on to the cabinet for decision making.
Well, it's quite interesting that you said that, because we've seen in recent time a lot of politicians or aspiring candidates, when they come forth, they always provide the national platform of the party. Yes. Instead of actually what's going on in their constituency. Mm-hmm. So it's quite interesting that you said that.
See, the thing is, what the constituents do not seem to understand, they are the ones who are to tell their representative what it is that they want in their particular constituency.
Definitely.
But Professor, in all fairness, that might be happening because you have throughout the country, yes, you have associations, and you have what does the PLP? Do they refer to their groupings? Branches. Yes. You have associations and branches, and these groups, they meet on a regular basis, and they talk about some of the things that are affecting their constituencies, and they bring it to the representative of that community, of that constituency, right, who should in turn speak to them, to those issues on the floor.
That's correct.
But like Ilan is saying, they actually go to Parliament and they represent the voice or the agenda of the party, not so much the constituency.
No, I agree with you. And that is what the constituents need to understand. You didn't send that particular person there for that purpose.
So we should fire them.
Well, now the constituents, I hear that, Ms. Lewis, but the point is the constituents themselves have laid back for too long and allowed that kind of action to continue indefinitely. And so I always tell them what major constituency problems have been solved in your particular constituency, because each constituency has a representative. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you live here 30 years? You mean to tell me you can't tell me what happened in your own constituency? You have all kinds of problems. Because people say, Professor, what should we do? Well, then you need people who are going to work together on the ground in that particular constituency with the particular representative for the improvement of conditions in that particular constituency. But what people do is wait for the particular individual who is the representative and say, what you can do for me.
And that's usually around election time.
And
that doesn't make sense.
No. That is so funny to me, because just the other day I was having a conversation with someone, and I've said that we have become this nation where we get into personal feelings when it comes to politics and what the politicians can do for us, yes, and not on a wider scale in terms of the constituency or nationally. Yes. And I always said it started a while back when we started getting in this era where, oh well, if you pay for my light bill, I will elect you, or if you come to this funeral, I will elect you, or if you pay for this, I will. But at the end of the day, nothing is being done for the constituency itself.
That is correct. That is correct. Yes.
And I want to add to that. Elon speak for the new generation. I mean, based on his age.
Well, you should.
And we're moving into 2020. They're fast approaching 2026.
That's correct.
When we're expecting general elections.
Yes.
And if you feel the atmosphere out there, if you feel the atmosphere, and if you follow what's being said, particularly on social media and all the talk shows and everything, even
Yes,
in
ma'am.
your neighborhood, your community, you can sense that there is a change. There is a change coming. Not so much to say I'm saying a change in the government or a change, but there is a change. There's a new generation of voters who are anxious to make a change, and they're letting their voices be heard. But the unfortunate thing is that in some cases, those voices are falling on deaf ears. But the mere fact is that, I was talking with a group of young people the other day,
Yes, ma'am.
all below the age of 40.
Wow.
And they were talking about moving in a different direction away from the two parties.
Okay.
And when they talked about it, they were analyzing and they were looking at what is happening in the country today. And you would be surprised that young people are concerned about what's happening in this country today.
Okay.
They're talking about high taxes.
Okay.
They're talking about the cost of living.
Yes.
They're talking about the fact that young people cannot afford to get a home.
Yes.
They're talking about not being able to get jobs. One young man
Okay.
said to me, but they rehired 500 people. I have a master's degree.
Okay.
And what opportunities are being available for these young people? There are a handful of people who are getting the opportunities, who are benefiting.
Yes.
But then there's a mass majority who feel disenfranchised. They feel as though nothing is happening for them. They're the ones who are going to affect change in this country. We always have this conversation here at Global. We talk a lot. We hear the talk shows. We talk a lot. We talk
Yes,
a
ma'am.
lot. But who is going to take that stand and go and say, we will not stand for it any longer?
Okay. Let's say some people have said that, right?
Mhm.
Are they organized on the ground?
That is what I'm saying. Who is going to take that stand and move forward and say, let's go, and we can go deeper into that. Yes, people had hopes there was the organization right before the election,
That is
when
correct.
the march,
Yes, I
Iran
heard
drew-
that. Yeah.
that they felt that was a lifeline to change.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that was misrepresented, and that fell apart, and people felt disillusioned. People felt discouraged, and
The
they felt there
particular
was
personality who was leading that said some cryptic remarks,
Mhm.
which I think the people might have overlooked, okay, in relation to that particular matter,
Right,
because they had some high hopes in this particular individual.
exactly.
But that individual had some personal issues that needed to be dealt with. And so those personal issues superseded the interests of the group.
Mhm.
And so when that happens, people need to understand, if your personal interest supersedes the interest of the group, then you can have problems.
The serious problems, and that
Very
is what
serious
happened.
problems. Yes.
And that is what happened, and that is why people are more or less inclined to go out there and support any group to say, let's go march on Parliament, let's
Okay.
go protest against this, let's
Yes.
do that.
No, I
You don't find
understand
that. You would hear people get on the airwaves and they would call in and they would have their comments, they would vent,
Yes.
but they are not going to stand up, and they wait until 5 years later when they go to the polls. The FNM stays at home because they're not happy with what's happening in their
I'm going to
party.
speak to that staying
The
at home. Yeah.
PLP, half of them, the majority vote, and they vote the government in,
Yeah.
not by the majority of the electorate,
No, you're quite right.
but the fact that they voted sufficient for them to win the government.
Yes.
Now, fast forward 4.5 years later, we're heading into a very serious
Very serious
general election.
Yes, ma'am.
We have a party called the Coalition of Independents,
Yes.
headed by Lincoln Bean,
Yes.
which is very vocal. You talk up to the young people, they're thinking Lincoln Bean.
I could tell you as a young person that is where a lot of young people are leaning towards, because Lincoln has been so out there, so public, and so vocal for the interest of other people.
Yes.
They see that as being someone who has the interest for them.
Okay.
So I think for a lot of young people, they're disillusioned with the other two party systems. They are disillusioned with politics on the whole. So I think it's important to say that Lincoln has been doing an interesting job when it
Yes.
comes to putting himself and putting the party out there for
Yes.
other people to get a hold of it.
Yes. But
And I think it's working actually.
well, okay, well, it may be working as
To an
far as that is.
Yeah, to an extent,
to an
definitely
extent.
to an extent.
To
The
an
fact
extent.
the fact that you have people actually considering him as being the other option now, I
Okay.
think, and just being a young new party,
Yes.
I think that's actually an interesting thing.
Yes, it is interesting. And then another thing is the young people, the percentage of voters is high with the young people.
Yes.
Yes.
They have to get on the register to
exactly.
be able to participate
and
in the
get out and
parliamentary.
vote.
Get out and
Yeah, I
vote.
think that
Now-
that is the main issue.
Now
Getting
we
them out to
find
vote.
that I've been covering elections from God knows when.
Yes.
When the Free National Movement won the first time.
Yes.
That was
1992.
Yeah, I was covering elections from back then
Yes,
as a reporter at ZNS.
Yes.
And I still follow elections today. I
Yes, ma'am.
think we covered last election,
Okay.
2021.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you find that the younger people were not the ones going out.
No.
Okay.
They were not. And even in the most recent election, they were still not. But now that we're heading into 2026, I personally sense a change among the young people in terms of their interest in what's going on in this country and what is expected or what can be expected at the polls in 2026.
Okay.
I'm sure we can expect to see much more younger people going out and voting, even so
Okay.
much as registering
I
Okay.
agree because I think we have more of a stake in what's going
and
on
what's
now.
going on.
People in my generation were now seeking jobs. We're graduating from college.
Yes.
Mhm.
We're getting more interested into
Mhm.
what's going on around us in the country. So I think that's why you'll see a lot more younger people coming out to vote, not just being the large group to vote, because that has
Okay.
always been the case. But in
Yes.
terms of actually voting, we've been, I think, one of the least groups
Represented.
represented to
yes.
vote.
Mhm.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. And let me just say this about those people who stay home and say they're not voting. You're doing a terrible disservice. to your
Agreed.
country.
Disservice, seriously.
All right? Because if you're going to see any change from what is there now, it means you have to take appropriate action.
Yes.
You have to be organized on the ground. Now, this is where I see the weakness, not only in the younger people,
Mhm.
but also in the older people. You will have a lot of people saying a lot of things, but where is the evidence on the ground that there is a movement in place in that particular constituency? Because people got to learn to understand you are choosing a parliamentary representative in a given constituency. The leader of a particular political party can only run in a particular constituency.
Yes.
So you cannot say you're going to vote for that particular personality. You
Right.
don't live in that constituency. You live in some other constituency.
And also, the young people need to know that that person also has to win their seat
Yes, they
In
have
order-
to.
yep.
in order
Yep.
to continue being the leader of that party. And if they should be successful in entering parliament, they have to be a part of that caucus in terms of being a representative and being a leader.
I think a good example of that was the last Perry Christie administration,
Uh-huh.
in which he lost his seat
Right.
and then lost being prime minister. So I think that was a good case for young people to see. In
Mhm.
order for you to even be prime minister, you need to win your seat and
Of course
also
you have to.
be able to win the votes of your parliamentary
Parliamentary
caucus.
caucus, yes.
And you know
That is
something,
correct.
I've been following it, particularly with what's going on with the opposition and the coalition. The coalition has been on the ballot, as mentioned, in the 2021 election.
Yes,
Yes.
that would have been their first
There's
time.
no representation of them in the House of Assembly,
Yes, ma'am.
but they have a very loud voice
Yes, they do.
in the community.
Yes.
And they're being heard, they're being entertained.
Yes,
So is
ma'am.
the opposition.
Yes.
And to an extent where they're making inroads, they're making some really good impression in terms of what their agenda is. Mine, I watched that night when they officially launched their platform.
Yes, ma'am.
I was not totally impressed because there are some things that totally unrealistic.
Agreed.
And is that what's capturing the minds of the younger people? Yes, Elan mentioned that education is key.
Yes.
More younger people are educating themselves. Is it that they're weary and worn out and tired of the Free National Movement and the PLP that they're turning to Lincoln? Or is it that they see something in Lincoln that they can hold on to for their future? Because I'm going to make this statement without fear or favor that there are some pipe dreams that are being offered to our young people that are totally unrealistic. And
Okay.
anybody can come after me for it. But when you tell young people that they can benefit from a sovereign fund,
Mhm.
that's telling our young people, and I find that with a lot of young people, I talk to a lot of young people, and they feel as though that's automatic. They feel that a lot of things that are being offered are automatic. I heard that there's $1 million being offered for information on crime. Why don't we use $1 million to prevent crime? Why don't we look at implementing programs in the inner city communities? Why don't we put libraries and community centers in areas like Engliston?
I think as it relates to young people and them seeing themselves voting for Lincoln and the Coalition of Independence, I think it's because it's new. We've seen the PLP and AFNM get reelected time and time
Yeah,
again.
that's what I'm saying. They're probably very
Yes,
tired
they're
of
they're,
those
they're
two
wary of
parties.
it. So now that Lincoln is a new face, a new party, they're saying, well, let's give them a chance. And I think that's where
But
young people are coming from.
listen to what's being offered. I mean, don't just jump like you mentioned earlier. People make decisions based on personal
Mhm.
Yes,
things, and
that's correct.
like what happened today.
Yes.
The statement was, I was sort of ignored. I was not included. I was isolated from the party. But in situations like that, do you take a personal view and say, I'm going to go to another party? Because of what's happening in your party, your loyalty to that party, the years of putting into that party.
Exactly.
I think we need, before we take a break, we need to
Yeah.
really let everybody know exactly where this is emanating from in terms of our discussion.
Yes,
Because,
ma'am.
like you mentioned earlier, some critical things happened in this country today
Yes.
that is going to impact. I personally feel that is going to have a great impact on the outcome of the general elections and and the campaign. There are going to be lots of things flying in the air, muds. Some things are going to come out that we as broadcasters, as journalists, are going to be prepared for. So when we don't look in surprise and say we didn't expect that. Did we
No.
expect what happened today to happen?
No.
No, I didn't,
I didn't
expect it
expect it.
because the
No.
thing is that I was caught by surprise because my phone was
was.
ringing all morning, and people
Well,
were giving me reports as to what they heard, in this particular
so
issue.
can we just enlighten everyone exactly what we heard?
Yes, I think we should.
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to go to a break now. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network with Elan White and Shelley Sweetie. Shelley Lewis. I got to get these names right. I apologize. Shelley Lewis and Elan White.
But there's so many Shellys there.
Yeah, there is.
Shelley White, Shelley Carey, Shelley Lewis. So we could get you. I forgive you.
Yeah, okay. We'll be back after the break. The lines are open 3260271, 3260272, 813-0271. We invite you to call in and enter the discussion because some things are happening today, Bahamians, that we have to take note of. And moving forward, this is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
260-272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and Bahamians, with all the countries around the world. I think I'll stay in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We have our share of problems, but boy, you wouldn't want to live in Sudan. You wouldn't want to go to the Gaza Strip, and you wouldn't want to go south. And people down south, they don't know how to behave themselves. But we in the Commonwealth of Bahamas, some interesting things occurred today. We're going to hear from Iram Lewis. He made some remarks in the House of Assembly, and we're going to have the producer put that tape on now, and we're going to discuss that. Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
Today, Madam Speaker and Bahamas, not with anger, but with a profound sense of responsibility to my constituents and, of course, to the Bahamian people. It is with this responsibility in mind that I announce my decision, painfully yet courageously, to withdraw from the Free National Movement Caucus. This decision, Madam Speaker, has not been made lightly. It is a decision born of deep reflection and a sincere desire to serve my country without the constraint of hard partisan politics. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the people of the Bahamas deserves a government that is united in its commitment to progress and prosperity. Therefore, from this day forward, I'll no longer remain where I'm tolerated, but where I believe I'm appreciated. I will not cross the floor and sit with the other side, because it would be very disingenuous of me, having criticized the other side so openly and consistently. I have given credit where credit is due, but it would be very disingenuous and hypocritical of me to now join the very forces that I've been fighting against.
That's it? Okay. We have a call on the line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, this Professor.
Yes, that's Professor. And we have Ilan White
Yes.
and Shelley Lewis.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Did you hear me?
Yes, I
I'm on
can
a
hear
cell
you
phone.
clearly. Yes.
On a cell phone. Yeah, congratulations to, well, of course, I want to give your guest. I want to say good afternoon to your guest as well.
Yes, sir.
Good
Thank you very
afternoon.
much.
Yeah, okay. I think we should congratulate, or I want to personally congratulate Iram Lewis for that bold move he made. I think that's a good move. And I think he should have no regret. There got to be a change, and in this country, and I think it's coming. And I noticed that the COI, to me, is getting a lot of traction. A lot of traction. And I'm calling out a Grand Bahama, and I can tell you that. So I'm not going to talk long, but just like they say, change ain't coming, change is here. And I can see it coming. I can see it here. So I want to congratulate Iram Lewis again, and the COI, and the great leader of Lincoln Bain. He has a vision. He has a vision for the country. And none of the other fellows them had any vision, like a 30 years vision for this country. But I noticed this young man has a vision. What do you expect to see in about 30 years? You plan, and that's what you do. And you're doing it. So I don't have to say much more about that, but I guess we'll talk again at another time. But I want to see a while. Let's keep moving forward, move on. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your contribution, Ilan.
I just want to go back to something that the Honorable Iram Lewis said as it relates to him departing the FNM.
Yes.
I think he's speaking to a larger issue at hand within the FNM itself, and the growing concerns of unity or the lack thereof within the FNM.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important for us to touch on.
Okay, I believe my producer tell me you have another caller on the line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Yes,
I just one thing.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Thompson, you have a very good show.
Thank you.
Let me say this in reference to I want to say something in reference to the lady in the studio who mentioned dreams that the COI might be selling, right?
Yes.
I just want to say this respectfully. I want to say this to her, that you got to realize one day Vision come individually. Vision doesn't come as a widespread thing. Mr. Thompson can have a vision, and you may not see it. That doesn't mean that this vision or this dream, or what you may consider a dream, may not come true. As you see that throughout the Bible, right? And I would always like to say this, that anytime you're dealing with two powers, like Mr. Walter McCartney would always say, you're dealing with two powers. You have the power of God, and you have the power of the government. There are two powers. Okay? So if you have two powers, and you have the power of the government, which the government has control over everything in its country. The government can tax you 50% on everything you buy today if they wanted to. It's no such thing. It's a dream when you hear the government say something. No such thing. Now, they could do this. They could choose not to do it. But don't put them to the test. The thing that they wouldn't, if they have to tax you to do it, or tax other people who come in this country to do it like Trump is doing, don't think it cannot be done. You may say it's cold to be done, but you can't say it cannot be done.
But caller, let me interject here. Let me interject here. What are you talking about now? You're talking about a political party doing something, or you're talking about the government of the Bahamas?
Okay, let me say this, Mr. Thompson. I'm saying the government of the Bahamas, just like how you would say, you have two powers, the Constitution and God, right?
Okay.
Okay, that's what you normally would say on your show every day. So I'm just saying to your guests that no government is limited to what they could do.
Wait a minute now. Wait, hold on. Stop right there. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Let me make that clear. Because I know you go in the Constitution. I know you sharp. So I can make that clear. I know you sharp. I know why you said that. I thank you for stopping me. Let me say this when I say a government. Once the government goes by the Constitution, they can go forward and do as they feel according to the Constitution. That is correct, right?
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Okay. So I agree. I understand why you saw me down. Now, I just want to say this. What is disappointing me? Anytime you're dealing with powers have that authority. There's no limit to these powers once they go by the law. There's no limit to them.
But
now,
let me correct you on something.
Go ahead.
The Constitution constrains a government. That's why you have the supreme law. A government is not allowed to do any and everything that it wants to do.
I agree with you.
So this is why it is important that the citizenry watch what a government does. Listen to what the leaders say. You get what I'm saying?
I get you. I'm clear on what you're saying.
Otherwise, you're going to have a runaway situation like how it is in Sudan. And I know you don't want that kind of situation.
No, you're correct. You're correct.
And also in the Gaza Strip and them other people down south.
You're correct.
Okay.
But I'm saying based upon the Constitution now, I'm not saying like outside. You're correct on how you analyze it. You're correct. Now, all I'm saying is this. I just want to speak about these mothers who sometimes drive over the cliff with their children. You're aware of that, right?
I'm aware of a situation that occurred, yes.
Yeah.
3 children perished.
Several of them happened.
Okay, that is true. Yeah, okay.
But mothers driving over the cliff. Let me tell you one thing. I was speaking to a lady the other day, two young ladies I was speaking to the other day. And I said to them, that is very disappointing. You know why? Because the mother saw that she couldn't survive this horror, you could call it horror in life, that she was facing. She didn't see no strength to get out of the situation she was in. And it's very unfortunate. You know what I mean? Because I know people that find themselves in these situations. So I sympathize with her position. But the mere fact is this. Then you can look at a little child who's 2 years old or 1 year old, right? All three. And put them in your vehicle and drive over a cliff. You know what you did? You underestimated the power of that child because that child is young.
Yeah.
You look at that child, it's because you use your weakness and apply it to the child, not knowing that that child could be, not because she's young or he's young, they could be very strong in their thoughts. They could even understand mommy or daddy's situation.
Okay.
No, they may not be able to explain it because they know they are too young to overthrow anything you said. But you cannot look at them and consider them that if you are no longer on this earth, that they won't be able to survive. They may be much stronger than you, who look at them as persons who may not be able to survive without you. There's no such thing. They can survive without you, just how Just how everybody else surviving when their parents pass away and their brothers and sisters pass away, they still surviving. You give that child an opportunity to survive. Stop considering these children to be weak. If a person as an adult is weak, please stop considering these children to be weak.
Okay.
If you want to leave the earth, it's very unfortunate that you would do that. But please, don't carry the children with you. Because I'm sure they have enough strength to go on with life and even give a story about what happened to them and their parents and what their parents did, but gave them an opportunity to fight. And I can leave it like that. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, all right. Shelley Lewis.
Well, I agree with him. Parents should not make that type of decision regarding children at that age or at that stage in their lives because, like you mentioned, our children, they're more exposed and they have a mind of their own, and you never know what they can grow up to become. Mm-hmm. But to take their lives in terms of what you're going through or what you're feeling, it's really unfair and unfortunate for them.
No, that is definitely so. And what is contributing to these kinds of situations? Because we have, as I understand it now, more and more people attempting suicide.
Yes,
yeah,
that's a lot more younger persons.
Okay, younger persons in particular. We had one who was 22 years of age, who was affiliated with a particular church, and that person is dead, was found hanging in the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot more males.
Males, yeah, the males. And I'm very much concerned about the fact that we're losing so many males through suicide, and it's a very, very serious problem in our country. Why is that happening?
I think it speaks to a larger problem in the fact that for years the Bahamas has not taken mental health a serious issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay.
They have not taken that to be a serious issue, and I think now it's becoming more of a serious issue because we see the side effects of it. We see a lot more people affected by it. So I think the government at large is trying to do more ways in trying to come up with initiatives to combat mental health.
Okay, yeah, I think they passed a new bill.
They did.
Yes. They did.
But was it enacted in terms of what they had planned to do regarding mental health?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think so. And you find that in addition to mental health, and like you mentioned, more men are committing suicide.
Yes, they are.
And younger
It's
people.
unfortunate. Yes, ma'am.
The other day there was a 79-year-old.
Yes,
and
that was interesting.
It was a discussion around my family table in terms, why would a 79-year-old be driven to that?
Yeah.
And these are questions that need to be answered.
Yes.
Whether it's mental health, whether it's the stresses of life, or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, thank you. I believe we have a call on the line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, good afternoon, Professor.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Bahamas. Professor, who your guest is in there? Where they from?
You have Elan White and Shelley Lewis.
They from where they from? Just guess it.
No, they're Bahamians.
I know. What they from? Party or they just
No,
guess it?
they're not from any political parties. They are reporters, and we're reporting on what happened today in the House of Assembly in relation to Iram Lewis.
Okay. Well, my question go right there. Professor, you guys broke that down for me. What that mean? All I know is when you step out the thing, you step across the road, or we have a by-election. Professor, me hang up and broke that down for me. Because what this mean? I don't know what this means. Is it all we gonna have a by-election? I can hang up first and listen because I know what this means.
Okay.
I don't think it constitutes a by-election. I don't think it constitutes a by-election because he still is the sitting MP for that constituency.
But let me say this, only when a particular personality in the House of Assembly would resign from that seat or they were to pass away, then the seat is vacant.
Yes.
So you would have to have a by-election in that case. But if a person is not in that particular situation, you won't have a by-election.
Professor, I
Yes,
guess, it's interesting what the caller asked just now, because I know a lot of FNMs perhaps are today asking, I'm now a coalition. Because, they went to the polls and voted FNM.
Right.
And today their representative announced that he is joining the coalition.
Yes.
And what does that mean? What does that say to the FNM supporters in terms of their representation? And that is perhaps why people want to know, what does his decision mean to their representation?
But to go back to something that Professor said earlier, they didn't vote for the party, they voted for the individual to represent them in their constituency.
That is correct.
So I think with him still being a representative for that constituency, he's still
He can
representing
decide what
those
party he
people
wants to.
in that
But
constituency.
he ran on an F&M ticket. I'm just
Understood.
putting it. I'm just
Understood.
putting
No,
it
I
out.
totally get
And
what you're
these are
saying.
some of the questions when we're looking on what the responses are from social media.
Yep.
These are the questions people are asking. Yes, he ran as an individual to represent them, but he ran on the F&M ticket. When you went and you saw that ballot paper,
Yes.
it didn't have an individual. It had the F&M logo, and I
That is
remember
true.
them saying, "Mark your X against the party of your choice."
Yes.
The party of your choice.
Yes. See, the individual at that point in time is representing that particular party.
Mhm.
Okay. But remember now that the people are choosing a parliamentary representative. Okay. So even though, see, an individual could run as an independent too, you know.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. So even though the individual ran under the label of a particular political party, that particular individual is to represent all of the people in that particular constituency.
Yes.
True.
Okay.
Because that's his personal
That's
views.
that is what he ought to be doing.
Yes.
Okay. We have another caller on the line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Professor.
Hey, what you say?
Wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
Listen, I told you from last year about Mr. Lewis that he was going to get sacked. In other words, cut. I told you that from last year, but it seems like you don't write the vision down when I tell you these things.
Okay.
And now we have seen it come out in reality this year that
Okay.
he see for sure that, hey, this was going to happen. So he hurry up, try to make history, to walk across the floor. But at the end of the day, it's his right. It's like he couldn't go into the PLP. So I guess he didn't have another choice. So Lincoln Bain, Mr. Bain was the only solution. So whatever deal or whatever they plan and stuff like that. And you know, at the end of the day, he know how you feel and stuff like that. But the point is, these men must know that only what do for God is going to last.
Yes.
And I heard him say, last week somebody asked him the question, are you thinking about crossing the floor or running? You know what he said? He was praying and fasting.
You're talking about Iram Lewis, right?
Yes.
He
How
said
could
he
you
was
be
what?
praying and fasting if you don't know what you was going to do? When you go in and praying and fasting, that means you have in your mind something you're gonna do. See, these fellas them just don't know what to say, and I just don't like when they put God's name inside of that.
Very much.
Because if you want to do something,
Do it.
just do it. Because I want to hear, what did God tell you? How God sound? And stuff like that. you see, we got to stop playing game and using God's name. There's the same way how when Dr. Minna say he was praying and fasting and all this
Okay.
foolishness and things like that. And so God give him an answer. He still lose.
Okay.
That means Dr. Minute. So God tell him, go run, and he still lose. You see? Now, Iram say he was fasting and praying, and then so I guess God tell him, go to Lincoln Bain. So, man, this little country here,
Serious.
we better stop playing games, you know. And we better get serious, man.
But he made an interesting point, though. Iram Lewis had said before, well, during his communication, that he couldn't go over to the PLP because of how much he chastised
them, yeah.
So I think that was interesting for him.
But he did say he was having.
But you know, I can understand what the caller is saying. You know,
No, the caller has a valid
caller.
point.
It's okay to pray and fast, okay? But the thing is, what he's saying is that you prayed and fast. In his statement, he said he could not stay where he was not appreciated.
That's what he said. Yes. That's why we got to analyze that statement very carefully.
He cannot stay where he was not
appreciated.
appreciated. Why the coalition?
That is a valid
Good question. It's a
Why
valid
coalition?
question. Yeah.
Did God say the coalition stands to then okay then the general election is already decided.
Okay then.
God told him the
That's my
coalition.
point.
So we can expect that the coalition will be the next government because God said
that's
that.
my point. You see what I'm saying? See, we got to know when God says something, you could take it to the bank.
Exactly. His
He
word is
cannot
final. It is
change-
written.
Final. Yes, it
One
is.
thing God don't do, God cannot lie and make mistakes.
That is correct.
You see? So all I'm saying, yes, it may be if I want to go on a fast or I want to make a change in my mind, say, something, this is what I decided to do.
Yeah.
But I don't want to make it sound so spiritual, like I so spiritual, man.
Yeah, people have
This
behaving
and
some
that, man.
tendency.
You come on, man.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, caller, I appreciate
But you
those
know
comments.
something?
Yes, go ahead.
We've been following the atmosphere.
Go ahead, Shelley.
We've
Make a
been
comment.
following the political atmosphere for quite some time.
Yes.
And I spoke briefly with Dr. Sands today. And he said that, and we are waiting, we're standing by for that statement coming from the floor of the House of Assembly from the leader.
Okay.
And I asked him, what impact will this have on the Free National Movement? Because when you look at the responses in terms of what's been going on lately,
Yes.
there's no separation from the PLP and the FNM, particularly with the young people.
Okay.
And he said they will be, the FNM will be okay.
Yes.
But what indication that the FNM will be okay when you have Iram Lewis on the floor of the House of Assembly making such public statement that the leader is holding back everybody else to make this statement with regards to the decision that Iram made?
Yes.
What is going to make them okay? The FNM has come up against a number of challenges. Number one, they had a number of associations separated, dismantled. They had a number of key persons in those associations leaving the party and joining other parties. This is not the first person in the FNM who has made that decision.
Okay.
They have had a number of persons who felt distanced, who felt ostracized. Look at the situation with Dr. Minnis. That's another contentious decision. That's another situation that's affecting the FNM. The FNM feels that they have been addressing or attacking all the pertinent issues that comes out of the PLP, that the government has made decisions that, they feel will affect the ordinary Bahamian, but one and one is not adding up.
Okay. We have a caller waiting on the line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm waiting, my God.
Yes. Okay. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Let me tell the lady, first of all, who's a prophet. That man who called before, he is not a prophet because he predicted Donald Trump wouldn't win. And I was inspired to call right after him to tell the professor and offered professor a $100 bill that Donald Trump would win.
Yes.
That's a prophet. The Bible says if the word of a prophet comes true, he's a prophet. If it doesn't come true, he's not a prophet.
Not a prophet. It's false one. Yeah.
Very simple, eh?
That's right. Yeah, you're right. You're quite right about it.
Okay, let me make a prophecy for you right now. The COI will get into the House of Assembly. Oh! I said that before. Aren't they in right now?
But let's put it this way. What we do have is an individual who has assigned himself to the political party.
Well, the point is,
He wasn't elected.
Wasn't elected.
He was not elected. You see,
well,
but understand.
God works in mysterious ways.
No, but you have to understand the circumstances, what has happened. This
Oh,
particular
I know what happened. He crossed the floor.
Well, crossing the floor means what?
Oh, like the other guys, the other fellas from that done this before.
No, but this particular...
What did he cross the floor to? The coalition isn't in the
It's
house.
not on the other side.
Well, the gentleman is in the house.
The gentleman is in the house, but he has assigned himself to a political party called the COI.
Yes, indeed.
That's what he's saying. But remember now that This individual made a determination, a decision. He said, when you listen to this speech, I this, I that. I don't know what kind of discussion he may have had with the people of the constituency. See, that is something you need to look at.
Real one question I want to ask you. Have you ever seen this done before, Professor?
Pardon?
Have you ever seen this done before in the history of the House of Assembly?
What I have seen done before is this. Hold on, Shelly. What I've seen done before is this. We have had one person from a political party on one side cross the floor and join the political party on the other side.
Yes.
That's what I've seen. In this particular case, this particular individual has declared himself to be associated with the Coalition of Independence. But right now he's an independent person in the House of Assembly.
With the COI, the Coalition of Independence.
But that's what your view is, and you're entitled to your view.
Of course.
Okay, and I'm not knocking you for that.
No, but what I want to know, I'm starting to get denial that the Coalition of Independence does not have one foot in the House of Assembly as we speak.
You saying they have or they don't have?
I think they have.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Based on Iram's decision?
Sorry, ma'am?
Based on Iram's decision, you saying that they have a representation in the House?
Yes, it was done right in the front of the House of Assembly today.
Wait, hold on, Carl. See if you got to get this thing straight.
Yeah.
Are you saying to me members of the Coalition of Independence were in the front of the House of Assembly today?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Absolutely. They had a press release right in the front of the House of Assembly.
Okay, but let's understand. Well, what does that mean now? Are you saying because they were there and this particular individual decides to become an independent member in the House of Assembly? That's what actually he is now.
He is a part of the Coalition of Independence.
No, but listen now. He was not elected
Absolutely.
as a member of the Coalition of Independence. Let's get that
Warren
straight.
Miller wasn't elected as a PLP when he crossed the.
But you're talking about people crossing the floor. That's a totally different thing. He ain't crossing nobody.
Yeah.
All he did was isolate himself from the particular political party, the FNL.
I'm sorry to tell you, he is of the COI as we speak.
I hear that.
Oh well, I'll call next week to guarantee you that that's what I saw. I don't know if you're asking me to deny what I've seen.
No, I'm not saying you must deny anything.
Yes, sir.
What I'm saying is based on what. See, you got to listen to what the man say. He made the decision. He didn't say that the constituents of his particular constituency told him to do this. Did you hear him say that?
He's associated with the Coalition of Independence.
No, listen to me. Listen to me, caller. Did you hear him saying anything that he said when we played the tape?
I didn't listen to what? I'm just listening to you. And you are second information.
I listened to the tape. We played the tape on air.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get people to understand. Listen to what the man said.
No. Listen to what my mind tells me. I saw the conclusion of this all.
Okay.
There was listen to me, Professor. 1 second. There was a gentleman who was a part of the FNM. That's okay. He made a statement in the House of Assembly, said that he was not a part of the FNN anymore.
Okay.
And he has crossed the floor. Now, there's not a government in the House of Assembly that says, a party that says they are the Coalition of Independence, right? So he crossed the floor, and he is now an independent. He's not a part of the party because the Coalition of Independence is not a party in the House of Assembly. But he says he is now a part of that party.
No, but he can do that if he wants to be a part of that party. But as it stands now, he's an independent member in the House of Assembly.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. All right.
Body in Parliament.
No, well, actually,
elected
personality. No, he's not been elected. That's how you get into the House, being elected. Yes, and that is what I think people need to understand.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is Professor Sidney McGarta, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. You never know what you may walk into on a given day as host of this show, because some strange things do happen. And sometimes it happens in a very peculiar way that you may not fully understand. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
Express.
immigration policy. These are some issues that need to be addressed,
Yes, ma'am.
and they're not. You know, that's another show. But my thing is that yes, there are going to be some funding of these projects and programs, and what is our national debt? Oh, I think it's more. But if he feels as though he can win the government, he can't buy a fire truck tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
He can't build a hospital tomorrow. There's some more pressing issues that are going to have to be taken care of, and we all know it. We see the spending of the present government.
Present administration, yes,
We
ma'am.
see, we hear it, and we know it. So we can't get away from that. Lincoln can't get away from that. That is why I said you got to be realistic. And what Ilan is saying, these are some things that he has not given full consideration to as to how they're going to be funded.
I haven't heard anything from the COI when they talk about governance, about the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, because they're talking about a republic. I don't understand what this is supposed to be, because you just cannot come in and say, we're going to make you a republic.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
That is not clear to the Bahamian people. Now, he said, change is here. Change ain't coming, change is here. That's fine. That's just a slogan that they're using. Okay? This particular individual, Iram Lewis, has separated himself from the Free National Movement Party.
Mm-hmm.
He has separated himself from the parliamentary group in the House of Assembly. That's two things now you got to understand.
Right.
Did he get the approval of the people of his constituency to do what he did? I heard in what he said, I this, I that, I the next thing. So what happened?
What about the people?
What about the people in that particular constituency? Did they tell him, separate yourself from the parliamentary caucus of the FNM in the House of Assembly and become independent and sit there and say, I am now a part of the COI? Is that what they told him?
Exactly. But you know, Professor, I was looking at some social media posts, and a number of persons from Grand Bahama were responding, good riddance. We welcome you on the move. Some were very positive. Some were like, oh, we're sorry for what happened. And it gives a sense that there is some division, because I also understand that Iram did not get the nod for nomination.
Yes, ma'am.
And under the FNM. And if you notice in his statement, he said, I'm not going to stay where I'm not appreciated.
But not appreciated. Yes. That's what he said. Yes.
Disenfranchised, I'm left out.
Yes.
I sensed this quietness for some time.
But notice what he's talking about, the I.
And that's what I'm saying.
See, that's a problem. I have a serious problem with that. What about the constituents of your particular constituency?
He might have already separated himself from them.
That is possible.
Because based on what was happening within the overall party.
Yes.
Remember now, Freeport, Grand Bahama is an FNM town. The majority FNM.
Yes, ma'am.
And Iram Lewis, like you said, over 30 years he's been at FNM. Now, if you did not get the nod, something is stirring up in the FNM party.
Yes.
That's creating this discord, this division, and having guys like Iram Lewis to now leave after 30 years.
Oh,
where's his loyalty, to the party?
To the party, yes.
To his constituents.
To his constituents, yes. That is quite right. I believe you have a call on the line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Professor?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Yeah, this is my second time. I'm just going to make it very brief. I think the lady, your guest, she has a point regarding what Lincoln said about, you can't just get an ambulance just like that, and you can't just do a hospital just like that.
Yeah, she said.
But at least you can deal with immigration. It's not going to cost you that much money to deal with immigration, provided you have loyal, patriotic people within those departments.
I agree, yes.
Yes, but
sir.
you can deal with that because we have a serious crisis when it comes down to immigration. And I think, I don't want to get into all the details, but you got not even just the people down south, but you also have the Chinese. You have a lot of people there, and we have to deal with.
No, I agree with you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree what you said, yes. That is true. Immigration is a major national problem. And we have too many people in this country who are here purporting to be Bahamian. You have some who are wanting to become Bahamians in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Immigration is a major national problem which needs to be solved today, not tomorrow, not next week.
While I agree that it is a national security issue for the country and it is a major problem, I think how Lincoln Bain is going about it it's the wrong way.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think he does a lot of xenophobic traits and decisions. When you go walking up to people's homes and asking them where your where's your national identification? There's a way to go about it. And then he has this thing called a natural Bahamian.
What do you say?
A natural Bahamian.
What does that
How do you
mean?
determine a natural Bahamian?
That's an interesting question.
And then he has these policies regarding immigration. I find it very interesting and not in a good way. And I think that should be studied in how his immigration policies are, or how he wants his immigration policies carried out.
Okay. In fact, he said he's going to be the Minister of Immigration.
Now, and one more interesting point.
Yes.
It's not pertaining to immigration, but if you all can recall the platform that they launched at Fusion several weeks ago.
Yep. Okay.
If you notice that persons were identified with various or respective ministries.
Yes, that is true. Yeah.
And they spoke to those various ministries as their portfolio.
Yeah. Right.
Now, Iram Lewis' decision to transition to the coalition, where does that place him in terms of he's a very educated, intelligent man. What contributions can he bring to the coalition that he was not appreciated for under the FNM?
And let's make it known, he'll be the only one on the ticket who has had parliamentary experience and cabinet experience.
That is true.
So that's a valuable part to that.
Exactly. And does that belittle him, or does that put him at a low level or a different level in terms of what he can now bring to the coalition and what the coalition has previously represented?
Both of you asked a very interesting question. Let's see if the caller may have an answer to some of those questions.
I don't know. I can't speak to the unknown. They are different personalities. We don't know why, and I think he wasn't really appreciated where he was. So we just can't just jump to judgment and say, well, he is this, he didn't do that, we didn't do the other thing. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. But what I want to talk about, I want to deal with immigration in particular. The gentleman said that he went about it perhaps in the wrong way. In his opinion, yes, of course, everybody has a right to their own opinion. But you must understand that there is a crisis in this country with the immigration. That you know that. I mean, come on, man. Bahamians are getting cheated. Yes. All right? It's about time we decide to make a step. Now, I'm going to say this. I think Mr. Bain will have to address the situation head on. I think maybe he might not want to touch it because he feels like maybe if he talks too much about it, they may gravitate towards the PLP. I'm talking about the Haitian, quite plain and simple. He felt like they may gravitate towards the other party if he tried. But the thing is, you have to be able to grab the bull by the horn and talk about it, because there's a lot of Bahamians would want him to address the situation the way how it should be done. Okay. They want him to address the situation. So I wouldn't try to try to be quiet on that. That's a major issue, and it needs to be addressed. So I would suggest that he just get up there, address it. Whether they're going to gravitate towards the PLP or the FNM, it really doesn't really matter. We got a problem. Let the people see how you're genuine, you're serious about it, and you want to try and see whether you can clear it up. And that's what I really have to say. It's about other things, but I wouldn't go into any more details.
Okay.
I think as a leader, he needs to do that.
Okay, but thank you for your contribution.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sharon.
I appreciate your sentiments. And, the question is being asked, is Lincoln looking to become another Trump? Because, Trump has a very aggressive immigration policy, and, he carried it out from day one.
Yes.
And, is that going to be top of the coalition's agenda? Because, yes, I acknowledge, and we all can acknowledge, that we do have a very serious immigration crisis in this country. And I noticed recently that the government announced that we will have pop-up immigration sites throughout the communities, particularly in the inner city communities.
Now, that's a serious
Now, I find that very serious, because the average Bahamian doesn't need a pop-up immigration
No.
site in the community to do
Agreed.
any immigration business.
That is correct.
So it tells us that they're actually catering to either the Haitians or the Chinese, like you say.
Okay.
But why do we need pop-up sites throughout our community? Why can't we put pop-up sites for social services? Why can't we put pop-up sites for environmental services? Why can't we put pop-up sites for health services? But this immigration situation is a very serious situation in the country. And perhaps, like you mentioned, Lincoln Bean has the solution and that he needs to address it. But somebody in this country needs to step forward.
I believe we have a caller on the line. My producer is telling me. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yes.
Hi, Professor.
Hey, how are you?
Yes. Hello?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, Professor. You know, it's just ironic for me to listen to some of the things that's being said.
Okay.
You know, when there have been numerous amount of, I haven't paid attention, I haven't dotted my I's and crossed my T's to call names of persons who actually crossed the floor.
Okay.
But I could almost assure you that they did not go to their constituents and let them know I'm a PLP, but I got over to the F&M. I'm an F&M, I got over to the PLP. What do y'all think about it? I'm sure they didn't do that. I'm quite sure they did not do that.
So if
So
a person,
go ahead.
if a person does that, right?
Mhm.
Because when I heard the statements, I heard I. See, those things cause me to think. That's personal.
Yes.
Is this particular individual putting a personal interest above the interest of the constituents? Don't you think the constituents ought to know and have a frank, honest, open discussion with the constituents of that particular constituency?
Okay, excuse me, Professor, let's be real. It may be I wasn't there. You know, like when you get into a situation and you call it the heat of the moment.
I don't know. I don't know if this particular. But caller, let me just interject here, then I'll let you continue. I do not think, based on what I've heard, that this particular individual was in the heat of a particular situation. It appears as if, from what he said on the tape, that this was something that he had thought about, worked on, whatever way he did it. But I'm wondering, in all of that, you were supposed to be the representative for those particular people in that particular constituency. And I'm wondering whether there was any consultation. Remember now, both parties like to use consultation. Did he consult with the people of the constituency in the decision that was made? That's what I'm trying to find out. And if the answer is no, then we have some real problems.
Let me speak to that consultation that you're referring to. Did the Prime Minister consult with the people when he went to go sign off all our natural resources and everything, with him being the sole beneficiary? Did he consult with the Bahamian people?
Let me answer it this way, because we have the record right there in the House of Assembly. We have the law that was passed by the people in the House of Assembly, and it was done at a time when people were having their Christmas celebrations. Okay?
How convenient.
Yeah, well, that's what they did at that time. We got to check the dating and everything.
How convenient. How convenient.
And the power was given to one particular personality. They spelled right out there.
With all due respect, I believe that. Like how you could tell me it could snow in hell.
What do you mean?
With all due respect, sir. Okay?
What do you say? Let me make sure I understand you now.
What you just said about it was put forward to the House and all of that he is the sole beneficiary.
But the House people voted on it. It's law, caller.
Professor, listen. If the man telling you, if you speak against what I'm doing, you will get fined. Okay? So what do you expect for the people to do? The big boss tell them, listen, agree or go home, in so many words.
He has only one seat in that House of Assembly. And
Yes, but
every
look
single...
at the seat that he owns. Look at the seat that he owns. And those other 38 candidates, they could speak against some of the things that he has done and is doing that's not beneficial to the Bahamian people. But what do? They sit there and they pound on the table and say, oh, yeah, boss, yeah, that's the right thing to do, whether they agree or disagree. They ain't man enough or woman enough to speak up against that.
Okay, fine.
And furthermore, we don't have no, and I tell you, we don't have no such thing as an opposition, because if they were an opposition, they would have went against some of the things that he put forth. You're going to tell me you're going to sit there and just allow him to say, well, Bahamians can't do this, but people from the South can do this. Foreigners can do the next thing, and they have privileges.
Yes.
What Bahamians don't have. We got to go through hell and high water just to get assistance. What those other oh Lord help me.
Okay.
You know, the housing.
Yes.
Okay. So come on, social services, professor.
Yes.
You got foreigners having better results than we Bahamians.
Yes, I've heard that.
Okay?
Yes.
No, man, don't come to me with that, man. We are intelligent beings. You can't just feed me garbage and tell me, here, this is steak and egg.
Okay.
You know, and then another thing, on another topic, okay? The young man said that he fasted and he prayed, and the Spirit told him what he said that the Spirit told him. Who was there? Who was there to say what the Spirit said to him? When you got a relationship with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, that's between you and him. You can't tell me always how the Spirit's supposed to speak to you, or you want to show me or tell me what the Spirit had to say, what he sound like. You sound anyway. You know what I mean? You understand where I'm going with that. Come on, man. Don't get into what God and man got to do or has done. That's a personal relationship. That's why they call it personnel.
Okay, caller. Well, I appreciate your contribution and thank you very much. We have another call on the line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Professor.
Yeah, hey, how are you?
I'm good. It's been a couple of days.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it has been. Yes.
But believe it or not, I'm still calling
the Chief
courts
Justice
every day.
Yes, ma'am.
Giving them my case number.
Yes.
I'm not getting much from them, but I'm continuing to call.
Yes, ma'am. We're going to encourage.
But let me say this in reference. Yes. Let me say this, though, in reference to immigration.
Yes, ma'am.
We have a problem in this country with immigration. We have a problem with the Chinese and the Haitians. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And somebody needs to address it. Now, when we can have our prime minister go to the Haitian village and declare himself one of them, and they're one of him.
Yes.
And he representing the Bahamian people.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, who did he talk to on that? And then he go down to the Haitian church in Abaco, pandering to the Haitian people down there. Now, this is the Bahamas. Don't forget it. And I wish we could have what Donald Trump has done in America in the Bahamas.
Yes, ma'am.
But the leaders that we have, they would never address it because they're asking for people who ain't supposed to be voting in our elections to vote.
Okay.
Now, let me say this to the Haitian people and to the Chinese people and anybody else. An organic Bahamian is a Bahamian that was born in the Bahamas
To Bahamian parents.
to Bahamian parents.
Yes, ma'am.
We got 5, 6, 7 generations. We're no paper Bahamians. So who don't like the terms organic? That's their problem. This is our country.
Yes, ma'am.
We know visitors here. And then we trying to change our language to cater to the Haitian. We don't speak Creole. That's not us. So as far as I'm concerned, they all can pack up and go home and fight for their country because we are losing ours. And I hope to God somebody get in that office who would really clean up the Bahamas.
Yes,
now,
ma'am.
they could like that or not. And this questioning about people's relationship with God, I have my personal one. You have yours. Everybody else have theirs. So don't question what I say. God spoke to me. That's me and him.
Okay.
Don't bring God into politics. We have to do that. We're a Christian nation. So don't question people's relationships. That's wrong.
Okay.
Thanks, Professor.
Thank you for your contribution. We have another caller. We have another call on the line. Sorry about the delay, caller. Call you live on
No,
air.
it ain't no delays, Professor. You got to do what you got to do. To you and your guests. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Let me see if I could help Mr. Lincoln being Dr. McGuire, them and the COI. I have been around the party long enough to know, not in terms of active, but I have listened to them. I've followed them long enough to know that Lincoln Bean and Dr. McGuire have a very aggressive immigration program. They have a very aggressive immigration program. Now, to speak about it, we got all kind of left, right, half crazy, and all kind of different people in this country. So to try to speak about it ad nauseum and to try to pound it, you got to step on eggshells with it. But they do have an aggressive immigration program whereby they are going to invite, just like Dubai, a lot of people to come in, only they have to come in the correct way. I followed them long enough to know that is their aggressive immigration program. They have one. So people who talk about he got to talk, this, he got to know. That's a very touchy situation. But I can guarantee you, with Lincoln's aggressiveness, what we need right now, he's going to deal with that. Thanks for taking
No, hold
call.
on, caller. Wait a minute. Let me ask you a question. What is this
Go ahead,
correct
sir.
way? What is this correct way that you're talking
The correct
about?
way is through the front door.
No, I don't understand that. What does that mean?
That means you get your paperwork from wherever you're coming from. Once your paperwork is okay, you apply to come into the Bahamas, and then you come through the airport or the cruise port, and then you see immigration and you see customs.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your contribution.
You're welcome.
We're going to break. Ilan, you wanted to make a comment?
I was just, I mean, it's interesting that the call, I was just listening, but it was interesting what the caller had said, coming in the correct way. While I do understand that, I still believe how the policies are going to be carried out.
Yeah.
It's, I think it should be done a different way and in a better way.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
All right, Shelley.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out coming in through the front door. Many of them came in through the front door, but like I said, they've been given Bahamian status that now allow them to do certain things in the country.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it the right thing to do? Is it right what our government is doing?
I'm glad you asked that. This is Professor, I can deal with that when I come back. This is Professor Sidney McGarta, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. People are asking a lot of questions, and I have no problem with people asking questions when it comes to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, because the Constitution is crystal clear when it comes to citizenship, when it comes to immigration matters. So let's make sure that be understood, not what some other person makes up in one back room somewhere and talking crap. We don't need that. We need to go by the Constitution. Will these people go strictly by the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas? Because the Constitution has been violated. That's your supreme law, Bahamians. We can't let people get away with doing that foolishness and that nonsense. This is Professor Sidney McGrath of Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. This is Professor Sidney McGrath of Walter Thompson. We'll be back after the break.
Zero two seven one or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
Sidney McGrath of Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. Bahamians, we have a lot of issues in the country. Almost said colony. No, we are an independent sovereign state. That's what I read in the Constitution. Now, let me speak specifically to this matter of citizenship, because some people seem to misunderstand. There are specific articles in the Constitution. We got one whole chapter with just these articles on citizenship. The Constitution is very clear as to who can be a citizen of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It is the duty of the government of the Bahamas to make sure that it follows the Constitution. There is no such thing as naturalizing people in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. If the government is doing that, they're dead wrong. It is unconstitutional and it's illegal, Bahamians. So let's make that point clear. There are some people in different nations who cannot, under no circumstances, can they ever be Bahamian citizens. Do you understand what that means? Because the Constitution doesn't allow for it. Even their own Constitution don't allow for it. The Constitution in this country does not accept duality of citizenship. You got to understand how serious this is. A person must renounce their citizenship of that particular country, where they may be coming from, before they can even be considered for citizenship in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That's what the law said. That's the supreme law.
How do we know they're not doing that?
Now, if that is not happening, then you know there are violations. Now, I see a lot of people talking about they being naturalized. Naturalization ended July of 1974, okay? That was specifically for persons who were here in the colony of the Bahamas. You know, we changed over on July the 10th, became a nation. So those people who were working here who had children, they had an opportunity to become citizens of the new nation called the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. They had up until July of 1974, just 1 year. Most of them decided they would go back to England. And that's fine. But that provision was only for that period of time. On July 1974, it ended. So from July 1974, there is nothing in the Constitution where the government of the Bahamas can naturalize anybody, because it's not there. You would have to have a referendum, Bahamians, to have any person naturalized in the Bahamas, the country called the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. But all of those who talk about being naturalized under the Nationality Act, which is not a legal document, although they may pass in the House of Assembly, but it did not come to the people. The same day, listen to this, Bahamians, the very same day, July the 10th, 1973, when it was supposed to come, it's the same day it died. You know why? Because it was done under the old Constitution when we were a colony, but there was no referendum. No referendum was required when we were a colony. But the law came into effect, the supreme law of the country came into effect July the 10th, 1973, which prevents the Nationality Act from coming into effect. Either it falls under it or with it and comes into conformity with it, and it never did from 1973 right on up to now. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Magada, Walter Thompson, your guest. I had to call back to ask a question because I joined kind of late, right?
Yes.
Do y'all heard the fact that the COI is no longer a third party?
What is it?
Have y'all heard that?
No, I haven't heard anything. What is it now?
Do you know that the COI is now the minority party in the House of Assembly?
I don't know nothing about that.
What's his name from Freeport walked the floor today?
Where he walked the floor to where?
From the FNM.
Now listen, he moved away from the FNM party. Where did he go?
He is. We are the minority in the House of party.
Call it. Just listen to what I'm asking you.
Okay, go ahead.
Where did he go? What party did he go to?
The COI.
Okay, now he's an independent member where? In the House of Assembly, right?
He's not a COI.
COI.
What do you mean COI?
He is under the COI banner.
A particular...
He walked the floor from the FNM and joined with the Coalition of Independence.
Yeah, but the Coalition of Independence is not in the House.
They're in there now. That's what I called you to tell you. They are now in. So we are not a viable third option. We are third minority members in the House of Assembly. Thanks for taking my call.
But that's your view, and that's understandable. But what I'm saying is, this is why I keep saying to people, listen to what the man say. Okay? He can be a part of a political party. But being in the House of Assembly, that's a different kettle of fish altogether. Do people understand that? Parliamentary representation is totally different from party representation. That has been a problem from the beginning.
Yeah.
From July of 1973, Bahamians still do not understand the difference between party representation and parliamentary representation. When we going to learn, man? You go all the way back to January of 1967. That's 58 years. What do you mean to tell me after all this experience we've had, 58 years down the road, we don't know the difference between a particular personality in a political party and being a parliamentary representative? When we can learn, Bahamians? As far as it stands now, listen to the statement the particular personality made. He is now an independent person in the House of Assembly. Listen to his announcement. Even though he said he is now affiliated with the COI, he can go to any party he wants to. But as a parliamentary representative, he is accountable to them people in that constituency. And that's why I asked the question, did he consult with them to make the decision? Because all I heard was I am not satisfied with myself being in the FNM party. So he left. Fine, no problem with that. But you're talking about an individual who is a parliamentary representative. Baby, you got to understand how serious this thing is, you know.
They really don't.
You don't play around with people's minds, man.
But I think it goes to the fact that we have meshed together the two so much.
Exactly.
And has made that such a common thing.
It's a common thing because people don't, and I go to great lengths to explain this on here, you know. And yet,
we explained it earlier today.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. And the thing is, the caller called back, and he has a right to his view.
Yeah,
and I'm not knocking him for that. But the point is, he is saying something that may not necessarily be true, because in actual reality, this particular individual who left the FNM is now an independent person in the House of Assembly. That particular individual can have an affiliation with any political party, even though that party is not represented in the House. But he's an independent individual. And I'm saying that these, see, Bahamians, let me just add this while it's in my head. You have to be very careful, Bahamians. You see what I keep telling you about getting the right person to represent you in the House of Assembly? You see the kind of crap we just get now? When we don't pay attention to persons who are coming to you,
putting forth for
wanting either being re-elected or new persons coming to be wanting to be elected. Bahamians, we got to be careful.
You know, we also need a psychological evaluation of potential candidates because it's because you know these
that
people
might be in good order.
They act based on emotions.
Yes.
You know, I'm looking at this letter I got from a young voter,
right.
And if you allow me to read it,
go
it
ahead.
says, while COI has momentum in terms of crowd support, with Lincoln's fiery presence that doesn't translate into political credibility or stability. Lincoln may have people's attention, but Iram made a miscalculation aligning with him. It looks more like a desperate move more than a strategic one. Truth is, Iram won't win his seat again. The people of Central Grand Bahama are not going to vote COI just because he switched. They still vote based on party trust, and that trust hasn't been built with COI. Plus, he loses the backing, the structure, and the legacy that came with being FNM. His political base won't follow him down this road. At the end of the day, the move doesn't strengthen COI, and it definitely doesn't damage the FNM. All it does is make Iram politically irrelevant. This should serve as a reminder. Politics isn't just about making noise. It's about making smart, long-term decisions rooted in vision and loyalty.
I think
Very
there's a lot in what
Very
is, by the way.
Well, this is an anonymous
anonymous. Okay,
person.
all right, okay.
They're sending me these letters. And
No, but that is an interesting. That's very interesting. Go ahead.
I want to touch on something you would have read in that party trust and loyalty.
Yes.
I am of the belief that the coalition of independence does not have the party trust in terms of people.
No.
While the people see Lincoln Bain and might agree with Lincoln Bain, the rest of his representatives who are representing the party in the various constituencies, no one knows them.
No.
Yeah, okay.
And
They
Lincoln
don't have
cannot,
that party. They don't have the trust of the people. People aren't familiar with their platform at all,
Yes.
and not with the individual.
and with the individual.
And
Yes.
quite frankly, I'm not knocking the COI because I'm looking at all the way, I'm weighing my options come 2026.
Well, of course you should.
I was not impressed with some of the platforms, with some of the policies that they put forth,
No.
and especially some of the speakers.
Yes.
Um,
You
I-
had one. In fact, you had one that spoke and wasn't sure whether that particular personality would be.
So you-
There was
Exactly.
another
I
individual
represented.
who was the shadow minister for
don't
tourism.
even go
and-
Yeah, but now
and
that was
culture.
Don't
that was
even-
the problem. I think we got a caller on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller, you live there? Maybe we lost the caller.
probably.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, caller. Go ahead.
Yes, good day. I'm listening to your show, Mr. Thompson, and good show. Who
Thank
are
you.
your guests that are on that show with you?
I didn't get the last part. You said
Who are those on the show with you? Who are guests
Miss
as well? I didn't
Elon
get their
White
name.
and
Shelley
Shelley
Lewis.
Lewis. Shelley Lewis.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm listening to the show, and I'm a little mixed at the fact that this somebody asked, "Well, what is the behemoth?" And who are behemoths? Natural behemoth, whatever you call it. I would just say all who are constitutional behemoths that abide by the Constitution of what the Bahamas is all about. And if you don't meet that requirement, then you're not a behemoth. I mean, there's a lot of people in this country that are getting citizenship that are not based on the Constitution of the Bahamas.
That is correct.
Okay? And we need to just stick to that. We can call it organic. We could call it, what is it, natural behemoth. We're going to call it a constitutional behemoth because it's law. The Constitution rules the Bahamas.
Yeah.
So if you don't fit that part of it, then you're not a behemoth. Okay? We're dealing with a serious crisis right now.
Very serious.
And as much as you want to say, well, Lincoln wants to describe himself as the next Donald Trump, well, let me tell you something. Any man that says his people first, America first, he's with Americans, I could live with that because we finally need a leader in this country who would put the Bahamian people at the front of this country instead of third and second place, as we seem to be feeling more and more every day.
Okay.
You just go into these government schools right now, Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
and see the amount of foreigners in our schools, and know that the budget for the Ministry of Education is about 25 million plus. If we had gotten rid of all these illegals in our country, because we cannot take all of them in our country, we're too small to handle all of that,
That is
and it's
correct.
displacing our culture.
Yes.
We, the Bahamian people, are being displaced, and it's being done right to our face. And because we have a leader that is willing to stand up and say, hey, I got to take this bull by the head, and I got to take it down. Because if we don't do it, we're going to lose our people. Here's an example. Right now in Great Britain, we're watching the Islamization of the UK, to the point now that many of the major cities in the UK are run by Muslim mayors. And now they're trying to pass Sharia law in London. This is insane.
Yes.
And the thing about it is that our laws of the Bahamas are based on UK laws.
Yes.
And I'm finding out now that UK law says if you make even a statement against the government on Facebook, they're going to put you in jail. So are we going to start saying to ourselves, well, okay, if the UK is doing this, are we going to change our laws a little bit? Because we normally listen to the Privy Council, which is based out of England. But if they're going down this route, this isn't freedom of speech anymore. This is authoritarianism. We can't afford to be a part of a situation where if I say I don't like your government and make a remark about you, I go to jail. I mean, this is England. What is going on? And if you think it can't happen there, it's happening in the Bahamas right now. And I don't care who feels bad about it, who says we can't do this because they want the Haitian vote. I don't want no Haitian vote. I only want Bahamians voting. So anybody who shows up on that election day and they are not a constitutional Bahamian, you got to lock them up.
Yes.
Because it's time we start to enforce the rules of our country for our kids' sake. This is not about me and you now, Mr. Thompson. We're getting a little older now, but these our kids will have to face a monumental battle if we don't fight now. Okay? We can't pussyfoot around and try to act like we got to treat this with kid gloves. You cannot treat a situation like this. You have to take the bull by the horn and say, you know what? It got hurt a few people, but the Dominican Republic did it. They took their country back. They said, look here, man, y'all can't come in this country unfettered, and y'all are breaking all of our laws. What's going to be left for our people? They didn't listen to the UN. The UN is like, oh, you guys are being overhanded or heavy-handed with the Haitians in the kitchen.
They came into our country and they undermined our system. They were pushing a lot of illegal documents through our system. We had to find a way to get our country back for our children. Trump is doing the same thing in this country right now, where he's getting rid of people in the country who don't like America, who just want to get the free stuff and use the country. We have been taking care of Haiti, and we love the Haitian people. We love everybody because everybody comes to the Bahamas. But for some strange reason, the moment we say we got to treat this in an orderly manner and deal with it in an orderly fashion, people want to come up, oh, you're xenophobic. Man, keep your words to yourself, but your words mean nothing to me. We are nothing more than loving to Haitians. Okay? We have treated Haitians better than Haitians treat Haitians. Because if you know anything about Haiti, they don't treat each other well. So I don't know why people always get this idea that Bahamians hate Haitians. That's the biggest lie ever told. Because I've never seen a group of people that can live on a land for years and the government doesn't make them pay taxes or rent to that land. And they've been doing this for years and Bahamians really didn't say nothing about it. So we are loving towards them. They go to our schools for years, get educated. So we love these people because if we didn't, they couldn't come here and do it because they're not doing it in Jamaica. They ain't doing it in the Dominican Republic. They can't do it in the United States, but they're doing it in the Bahamas. Okay?
Yes, sir.
We cannot deal with the birth rate. The PMH right now is almost like 16-1. We cannot deal with this. This is called a replacement. And Bahamians, you need to wake up. Don't worry what they say about us. This is our country still. You still have time to fight.
No,
fight for your country. Whoever gets angry with it, tell them you could go with them too. We're fighting for our country. Okay? We are going to be the patriots that fight back because our forefathers gave us this country. Yes. Everybody was given a country. Go fight for your own country. Go build your own country up. Okay? You want to come here? If you want to assimilate, you assimilate. But you don't come over here and then try to take our system from us. Okay?
Caller,
I appreciate the time you give me on this show.
Thank you, caller. Your comments were well taken. Ilan, you want to comment on that?
I would just go ahead and say when I refer to certain people being xenophobic and their traits and how they would treat the Haitian population, I think it goes back to how we refer to some of them, how we want to get rid of them, and the ways in which we go about it. I think it could be done better.
Okay, Shelley Lewis.
You know, I'm almost lost for words because this immigration problem, it's a crisis. I've heard a lot of comments being made as to us having to deal with it.
Yes.
Does anyone come up with the ideal solution as to how?
Solution is right in the Constitution. You ain't got to look far. It's right in the document.
Which means that we're not following the Constitution.
That's exactly the point. Because the government of the Bahamas is naturalizing people who do not qualify and can never qualify as citizens of this country.
Second question.
So the government is at fault.
Like the caller said, wake up, Bahamians.
Bahamians, you need to wake up.
Still sleeping. They under the blanket.
Yeah.
They are not prepared to wake up. They're prepared to get on the shows and they talk and talk, but I think they've lost.
It's got to be much deeper than that. That's why I said to them, they need to be organized on the ground. And I told them if they know how to do it, I'll come and help them to do it. I'll show them what the Constitution says, how we can do it. We have to protect our own interests. Do not leave it up to some people who are doing foolishness and nonsense. We can stop it today if we are serious about it.
So,
I think I'm going to have to cut off now.
I guess this is a start. You know, this has been very interesting.
You're very interesting.
We started talking about Iram Lewis transition to the coalition, and we ended up talking immigration. And we, I guess moving forward, we'll wait to see what contribution he has to make to the coalition. He is a person, a representative in Parliament, not a coalition representative, but
You're
an
quite
independent.
right about that. Independent
and perhaps
personality.
This is his way of advancing their agenda on the floor of Parliament.
All right. I'm going to have to stop now because my producer is being very patient with me. This is Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We had a this thing turned out to be very interesting today. This is Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson. I want to thank Ilan, Shelley Lewis, Ilan White and Shelley Lewis. This is Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson. Bahamians, be safe. We've got to move quickly to save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Have a pleasant afternoon.